So when we talk about Percy Bysshe Shelley, what comes to mind? Probably this rebellious spirit, right? A true giant of English romanticism, the guy who wrote poems like Ozymandias and Ode to the West Wind. But today, we're going to look at a whole different side of his genius, the hidden engine that was really powering his most revolutionary ideas.
I mean, seriously, where did it all come from? The incredible idealism, that deep philosophical punch, the powerful myths that just define his work. Did it all just sort of appear out of thin air? Was it pure, raw inspiration? Or was he tapping into something much, much older?
Well, it turns out the answer is pretty surprising. It's not about looking forward, but looking way back. Shelley was in this constant, deep conversation with the master thinkers of ancient Greece. And his work as a translator? That wasn't just some side hustle. It was the absolute foundation of his entire poetic philosophy.
Okay, so to really get this, our first stop has to be with one of the greatest philosophers of all time, Plato. Shelley's deep dive into Plato's ideas about love and beauty would literally change the course of his creative life. Now, Shelley took on this huge task of translating Plato's Symposium. It's this brilliant dialogue where a bunch of Athenian intellectuals basically get together and debate the true nature of love, or eros. For Shelley, this was so much more than a language class. It was a profound exploration into what human connection and desire are all about. So Plato has this amazing idea that love is like a ladder. You start at the bottom, right? You appreciate the physical beauty of one person. Then you start to see it in all people. As you keep climbing, you move on to loving beautiful ideas, beautiful souls, and finally you get to the very top, the pure, abstract idea of beauty itself. It's this incredible journey from the physical to the spiritual. And this idea, it becomes everything for Shelley. When you read his Hymn to Intellectual Beauty, you can literally hear Plato's philosophy echoing through the lines. That intense yearning for a perfect, transcendent love that goes way beyond just the physical. Yep. That's pure Plato, channeled directly through Shelley's pen and right into the heart of romantic poetry.
But it wasn't just philosophy. Shelley also dove headfirst into the foundational stories of Greek culture, their myths. And his work translating the Homeric hymns especially gave him this whole new symbolic language to play with.
Now, for anyone who's not familiar, the Homeric hymns aren't actually part of the Iliad or the Odyssey. Think of them as their own thing, a collection of amazing poems, and each one is a tribute to a specific Greek god, like Apollo, Hermes, or Aphrodite. And they are just packed with incredible stories and powerful images. So by translating these hymns, Shelley wasn't just learning stories. He was basically downloading a whole symbolic operating system into his brain. It gave him this powerful toolkit for talking about huge ideas like nature, power, creation, and rebellion, all through the language of gods and titans. He was tapping into something truly ancient and powerful. And you see this influence pop up everywhere. Just think about his masterpiece, Prometheus Unbound. He takes the old myth of the Titan who stole fire for humanity and completely recasts it as this epic, revolutionary story about breaking free from tyranny. There's no way he could have done that without that deep, translator's-level understanding of Greek mythology. All right, so we've got philosophy and we've got myth. But Shelley went even deeper. He started looking at the nuts and bolts of classical storytelling, and he did it by translating the great Greek dramatists. I mean, he got right in there with the works of masters like Euripides and Aeschylus. These are the guys who basically invented dramatic tragedy. He was poring over fragments of their plays, taking them apart piece by piece to see how they worked. And through that process, he wasn't just learning vocabulary. He was absorbing the very DNA of Greek drama. He figured out how they built tension, how they structured a story, how they used a chorus to explore these big, complicated themes. It was like a hands-on masterclass from the best in the business.
And this, right here, is where it all comes together. The actual structure of a work like Prometheus Unbound, it owes a huge debt to Greek tragedy. He's taking those Platonic ideas and those mythological symbols and putting them all inside a framework he learned directly from translating the ancient masters.
So you start to see it, right? Shelley's work as a translator was not some separate hobby. No way, the two were completely intertwined. One was feeding the other, creating that incredible, unique voice that we all know today. You can almost break it down into 3 simple steps. First, he just soaked up all the ideas and stories from the classical world. Second, by painstakingly translating them word by word, he totally mastered their forms.
And only then, standing on that solid, ancient foundation, was he able to build his own thing, this incredible, unique, romantic vision. At the end of the day, it really all comes down to this simple fact. His translations weren't just practice. They were the source code for his creativity. They gave him the philosophical themes, the symbolic language, and the dramatic structure that truly define his greatest works.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? I mean, Shelley's story is all about this amazing conversation across thousands of years. It really makes you wonder, how many of the artists, writers, and thinkers we admire today are doing the exact same thing, quietly listening to voices from the past and translating those old ideas into something new for all of us?